Mr. Squidward, welcome to the night shift.
Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday night. And also happy Sunday morning to Ben, wherever you all may be. Welcome to the night shift with alongside Ben Curse and the Asian Skip Bayless, Isaiah Leong. My name is Loro Antonio, and we got a lot to be talking about today. So, fellas, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing well, man. I'm kind of scared for the roast sesh that Ben is about to give me. I don't know what it's
That's
about,
all
but it should be fun. But I mean, what a Saturday like in the sports world. I mean, you had the Lakers Warriors game, and that fourth quarter was just phenomenal. Then you had the Duke North Carolina game, which we'll get into in a bit. That was great, like a lot of great sports action, and then you top it all off with the UFC fight that just happened about a couple minutes or like about 10-15 minutes ago, and that was really good as well. So just a lot of great sports action today. Just a really jam-packed day in sports and a lot of things to talk about.
So much things to be talked about here. So, Ben, you want to start off with your roast chest to Isaiah?
Well, Isaiah, my good friend. Listen, you don't have to be scared about this roast at all, but I guess you could say it's more of a reality, per se, as of right now. So, a couple weeks ago, I was in my bed, and of course, I'm on the Eastern Coast, and you and Isaiah, I think, were doing your own shift, and I heard something pretty interesting, and it was regarding the Celtics, and it was regarding the NBA, and about how I also heard to say, "Oh, Ben did not want to hear about this," or we'll to kind of listen to see how he feels about this. And I don't know if you could recall, Isaiah, but I do believe, and if I am putting words in your mouth, I very apologize to you. But I believe you said the Celtics are pretenders. Is that correct?
I remember saying something like that about a couple weeks ago.
All right. Well, listen. This hat is coming on. This hat is coming on, and I'm ready. I'm ready to essentially tell you that, listen, I was there this week, and I'm not going to roast you as crazy because I saw your text of me being at the game that you wanted my team to win. And that means a lot to me because it's right around my birthday, and I do appreciate you guys wishing me happy birthday this week. So I'm not going to go too far on you, Isaiah, but I do at least want to tell you something because I'm not going to let you go off the hook just to say that. Okay. So the Celtics, okay, I have been very impressed with the way that they've been, right? They had a very tough start to the season. They're in like 10th place, 9th place. I was just having a hard time watching this team. Okay. I had a hard time watching this team. I think that, they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals for the last couple of years. So it was very disappointing. And I didn't really know what to expect out of them. But I did know that there's a lot of naysayers out there saying, "Oh, break up the two guys, Tatum and Brown. Ime Udoka, fire his ass." This is about a couple weeks ago. I remember Kendrick Perkins on First Take saying, "Put away Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and it's not working anymore." And the week after, "Oh yeah, they're turning around. Keep them and everything like that." So what's going on? So when I heard Isaiah say they're pretenders, well, I'm gonna look these stats up lately. So let me just ask you, Isaiah. Okay, so they were in 10th place. Now I want to ask you, what place are they in?
The
In
Celtics
the Eastern Conference.
right now, I believe they're 5th or 6th, somewhere around there.
Yeah, they're in 5th place. Okay, so in a stacked Eastern Conference, essentially, with a lot of good teams, they've essentially in 2 months gone from 10th place to 5th place. If you asked me that, Isaiah, about a month or two ago, would you believe me?
No, I wouldn't, honestly.
Okay. All right. I'm glad we're glad we're set on there. Listen, this team has proven to people that they have turned it around. And people could say, well, they haven't been anybody good. There's no good teams out there. I will go through a list of the teams that they've been on in this hot streak. In February, they have beaten the Philadelphia 76ers. Not only they beat them in their place, but those with Joel Embiid, and there was a blowout. They also beat the Denver Nuggets. They beat Nikola Jokic with a really good Nuggets team at home. Very good one. Well, you could say, oh, they beat the Brooklyn Nets 2 times and they didn't play anybody healthy. Okay, I'll give you that. Look who they just beat last game, by the way. Honestly, the best star in basketball right now, John Morant. Honestly, the best superstar right now. I was at the game on Tuesday night. That was the first home game since the All-Star break. That crowd in the second half is buzzing because they know that this team has turned something around. Now, I'm not saying this, Isaiah, to be fair. I'm not saying this is a championship contender. I'm not saying that. I still think that there's some work to do. But you can also ask me, who was the coach of the month this past month? Ime Udoka, where people had no business saying, oh, fire him. He has done nothing about this. His rotations suck, everything like that. Well, you can tell me tomorrow they lose to the Nets. They're losing like crazy. You can tell me, oh, this blew up in my face. And I'll be okay with it. But the way that you told me that they were pretenders about a month or 2 months ago, what's going on with that? Do you have an update?
Here's what I'll say. The Celtics have been making me look like a fool. The Celtics have, I don't know if Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics watched what I said and, took it personally and took it to heart. But, the Celtics, I think when I said that, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was like 3-4 weeks ago. It was something along that line.
If it was a couple months ago, now you're talking weeks ago, I don't know. It might be aging well or not aging not too well.
Yeah, I don't know where was that, but I really feel like literally after I said this, that your Celtics have been playing lights out basketball after I
appreciate your honesty. I
That's
appreciate it.
Yes. It I don't know why, but it just seems like the Celtics were on a mission to prove me and other people wrong. Like obviously when I said at that time, they weren't that good. They had gotten off to a slow start. I think like you mentioned, they were like
they went on a slow start. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like 9th or 10th at one point, and Tatum and Brown weren't really. I mean, Tatum and Brown were playing well, but the entire team as a whole, they weren't playing that well. But I mean, I'll give it to your Celtics. Your Celtics have definitely proved me wrong. They've definitely made me eat a lot of humble pie and a lot of crow. I mean, they're playing great basketball right now, and the one thing that as a Lakers fan that I truly regret from the Magic Johnson era of when he was running the show in Los Angeles is, and I still regret this to this day, is him picking Lonzo Ball over Jason Tatum. I think that is something that's really going to hurt, and Lowell probably could agree with me on this. That is something that's probably going to hurt us Laker fans for the rest of our lives, just because you think about what we could have had. You think about LeBron. LeBron was coming either way. You think about Tatum.
Yep.
You think if we get Tatum, you probably, I don't know if you would probably land Anthony Davis. I still think Anthony Davis was going to come regardless if you made the trade or not for him, just because he was LeBron's best friend. Imagine that big three that you could have had.
Yeah.
But now,
scary.
Yeah, exactly. It would be really scary. But now you're just stuck in this position where you don't have any assets and you don't really have a lot of talent. But back to the Celtics. The Celtics are playing well. I mean, Tatum is playing like a top 10 player in basketball right now. And I'll give you that. But I don't know if I'm still ready to say that they're better than, Philly or they're better than Miami. I would say that they're definitely not pretenders in terms of they'll make the playoffs. I think me and Loro, if we look back on our NBA preview show, I think both of us didn't even have the Celtics even making the playoffs or even being in the play-in. I know I remember saying something like that, but I still think Boston they are a contender, but I don't know if they can topple Philadelphia, Miami, maybe Chicago.
All right, well, I'll answer to this, and then we can move on. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you're wrong, because if I was in your position, I would say the same exact thing. I don't think that. I think. Listen, I could agree with you on this. I don't think that they're as good as Milwaukee or Philly or Miami, but they're a team right now that if they're in the playoffs, and Stephen A. Smith actually said this on first day on Friday. Who's the sneaky team in the Eastern Conference right now? And he said the Boston Celtics. He said because he said that this team reminds him of the Atlanta Hawks team last year, a team that nobody gave credit for and just went in and just played team basketball. And you know, I do think that they still have some work to do. You know, whether it's getting that another star, but I'm very been impressed with their turnaround because I've been sticking through this team, and I knew that if they just turn things around just a bit, they can get up, they can get going. But man, I did not expect this. I did not expect this to happen, and I know for you guys Laker fans, it's a treat for you guys to be really bad this year, but I also feel bad at the same time because as rivalries aside, it's always good to see two teams at its best, but I just want to give you that out there, Isaiah, for a little roast session early on to start it off tonight. So, we could obviously, move on to another subject, but I did remember that, and hopefully that will age well for the next time you try to predict the Celtics.
Well, Laurel, before you take the floor, I just gotta say this to Ben. Ben, you should honestly hope that I continue to say bad stuff about the Celtics because it seems like, and Callan labels this as the Isaiah jinx or the Isaiah curse, that whenever I say something bad about certain teams, the opposite happens. And whenever I say something good about certain teams, like I said, the Lakers were going to win like 70-something games, they end up in this precarious position. So, yeah.
Well, I could see you with the Lakers thing because I thought that the same thing. With all their talent they had, it's one thing that if you had like the Jacksonville Jaguars prediction you had for winning, I could see that, but that's another story for another day. Oh man, just glad we're having fun to start off the night.
Very fun there. I mean, the Celtics have. I think to me, Ben, the Boston Celtics are not a first half team. I think they're more of a second half team that likes to play well at the right time. But to me, they just got to be consistent.
No, it's very fair because, and I was going to tell Isaiah this, as much as the streak's been great and stuff and good fun to watch, hope it doesn't peak early, right? You obviously don't want to get down to the second half, April starts to happen and they start to slide a bit, and then you kind of go, oh boy, like what happened? So, they still have a lot of work to do, but, obviously when Isaiah said this, they're like the 8th or 9th seed, and I looked at what there is now. I'm like, oh man, maybe I should give him a little update to kind of remind him. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
All right, folks. So let's stay on the NBA since we started with the NBA tonight. So LeBron James dropped 56 points to help the Lakers topple the Golden State Warriors in an extremely intense back-and-forth affair at the Crypto.com Arena. Lakers beat the Warriors 124-116 to end their 4-game losing streak. And I'm going to start out by saying this. This is a start for the Lakers to start getting back on the right track. Is this a start for me? Yes. But do they have to keep playing like this in order for them to avoid the play-in tournament? I think if you look at it, I think it starts right now. I mean, their schedule this upcoming week is going to be fairly easy because they have to play the Spurs on Monday, whom the Spurs are not a really good team. And then the Lakers go to Houston on Wednesday, and that they should be beating Houston. And then Washington is kind of like a coin flip. Sometimes Washington's good, but sometimes Washington's bad. But the Lakers have a tough test next Sunday against the Phoenix Suns. So basically, the Lakers start off the next week with an easy schedule, even though the Lakers have the second hardest schedule right now. Isaiah, I'm going to go to you first on this. What was your overall thoughts on the Lakers snapping their losing streak?
My thoughts. I'll start first with my thoughts on this game as a whole. I think that this was probably the most entertaining game I've watched all season long. This was especially that fourth quarter, like that sequence with I think like that it was like a 5-6 minute sequence where it was like Golden State scores, the Lakers score, then Golden State scores. Like nobody was missing any shots. Like every possession, someone came through with the basket, and it wasn't just like easy baskets. It was like hard baskets that you would just be like, wow, how the heck did that guy make that? And it was such a great game, such an intense, fun game. And I definitely want to see this series or these two teams meet up in the first round, because I know that it's probably going to be a really entertaining 7-game series. So that's my thoughts on this game. As far as the thoughts on the Lakers are concerned, I mean this is how they need to play for the rest of the season. LeBron needs to go on that Kobe 2012 like run, or 2012 2013 run where LA was struggling, and then Kobe puts the team on his back and just leads them down the stretch, leads them to a ton of wins, and then they make the playoffs. But unfortunately, he tears his Achilles in like the final couple of games. But that's kind of how they need to play. LeBron needs to put the team on his back. It started tonight, and the other guys just need to support LeBron. I mean, that's why they're there. Reeves was decent. Monk was decent. Stanley Johnson was all right. You had just the supporting cast stepped up, and they played with that energy and that enthusiasm and that effort that we've been asking for this entire season, and they finally showed that. And if they can just put this together and string a streak together, I think they'll be fine. They'll make the play-in for sure. But this is what I want to see from LA going forward.
Me too, Isaiah. I mean, I'm with you on that. They have to play like this in order for them to make the playoffs. I mean, I'm more anxious to get a healthy Anthony Davis back, Isaiah, and I know that that's going to be a need. We want to welcome Big B. I mean, we'll see. We'll get to him shortly. Ben, what is your thoughts on the Lakers snapping their 4-game losing streak against the Golden State Warriors?
Well, I got to say is glad for you guys to finally feel a little win here. You must have really had a hard time with that for a while. So I'll give your props for the night. I agree with Isaiah. It was a great fourth quarter, back and forth. LeBron was absolutely sensational. But I got to say this. And Lauro, obviously, kind of just your take in terms of, and obviously these Laker fans have one win like this, things are going to happen, be back and stuff. I looked at the Lakers' last win. It was against the Utah Jazz, and people were saying, "Oh, it was a close win," and obviously things just went downhill after. They got to prove to me, and it took a 50-plus game from LeBron James, a guy that, no offense, he's one of the best ever, but if you're relying on that every single night, it's just not going to work. It's just, the defense of the Lakers still concerns me. There's a lot of, back and forth here and there. Their bench still has a lot of issues. And, listen, I know Isaiah has a love fest with AJ Reeves. He's a good player, but if you're relying on him to be your best defender of the whole team, I'm sorry. You look at the other two teams, and, the Clippers were the example the other night when they faced the Lakers. The Clippers don't have a lot of household names out, without Kawhi and Paul George, but they play hard. And I just think that the Lakers have to prove to me, if they want to play hard over the course of the next couple of games, they could do it. And, Laura, I know you said with Anthony Davis coming back, it gives them hope. But the only way I see the Lakers really kind of turn things around is that they can stay healthy and play much better defensively. I'm not going to discredit them for this win by any chance, because I think that they deserve this. But the Warriors have also been struggling too. The Warriors have had a hard time sagging someone the last couple of games too. So somebody really had to win this game. But Melo had a pretty good night, but Melo's been very consistent. There's just so many aging players with this Lakers team that it just cannot be sustainable. I'm sorry to tell you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is an old roster, and then Big B, you said that they're the AARP Lakers. Give us your thoughts on this game overall for the Lakers.
Where do I start? I think Ben covered a lot of it. I mean, when Lakers win, everybody's on the bandwagon saying that they're going to make a playoff run, blah, 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 all this. And when they lose, it's this team needs to explode. They need to restart. They better not make the playoffs.
Isaiah keeps ranting.
What's that?
I said Isaiah keeps ranting over losses.
Yes, exactly. You rant all you want. You say you disown the team, but yet you still watch them. You still commented on them, which is fine. But, like Ben said, don't get discredit as the loss. They played a good game. They beat a good team. Both teams are kind of iffy right now. But if you're going to rely on, LeBron James to get you 50-plus points a game the rest of the season to win, you guys might as well just pack up the bags right now because it ain't going to happen. And they're what, the 9th seed right now, so they got to play in the play-in game.
The 9th
right?
seed, yep.
So how's it break down? 7, 8, 9, 10? Is that how the matchup's going to be, or is it going to be 7, 9, 8, 10?
Well, Big B, the matchups will be 7 versus 8, and then 9 versus 10. So
okay, I just want to make sure. I got them right.
If the winner wins the 7 and 8 game, the winner becomes a 7 seed. The loser gets to play the loser gets to play the winner of the 9 and 10 game.
Okay, all right. So right now, Cleveland possibly has got to play 2 games to get into the playoffs. And are they going to be healthy? I know you guys want Davison back and healthy. But how healthy is he going to be? Right now his full health is what, 80%, 70%?
Need 100% Anthony Davis, though.
But he's not 100% Anthony Davis. Come on. LeBron's not even 100% LeBron. Yes, LeBron is still a phenomenal guy at 80% that most people are at 100%. Don't get me wrong. But, AARP Lakers right now, they got a lot to prove. And, a lot of people know. A lot of people
are coaching.
Well, it's just Frank Vogel's a great coach, but he's not had a fully healthy roster, though.
Because they're old, and if this team was 10 years ago, the team would be unstoppable. There's no question about it with this roster. No question. Everybody can argue differently, but to me, this team 10 years ago would be unstoppable. Now you got aging veterans, you got a few young guys. I'd like to see what Vogel could do with the younger, more established staff, get rid of all the old players that, are past their prime. And then let's see let's see how great of a coach he is. So, but hats off to them. They won, but they're not going to make a run to the playoffs.
All right, Big B. So we have a Minnesota Timberwolves question for you in just a moment here. We're going to get to Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero. They both scored 21 points to lead the Miami Heat past the James Harden-less Philadelphia 76ers. Like Isaiah said, the Philadelphia 76ers are they're a better team without Ben Simmons. They have James Harden. You have him and Maxey in the backcourt. This offense, it's more fun to watch now than with Ben Simmons and Embiid. Harden and Embiid's a better combo. Ben, what is your thoughts on the Heat beating the James Harden-less Sixers?
Well, Miami Heat, the Celtics played them last couple of years ago in the playoffs. They're a team when they're on one of the most complete teams in basketball. I personally think in the Eastern Conference. They got a very good coach in Eric Spoelstra who's been there, done that. They got good defensive players. PJ Tucker is a very underrated, player in their starting lineup with good corner threes. Jimmy Butler hasn't been as great lately, but he's one of the best two-way players I still think in basketball when he is on. Bam Adebayo only scored even 6 points tonight, but he had 10 rebounds. So he contributes in other ways if he's not even scoring a lot of points. But when he's on scoring points and rebounds, he's a double-double machine. And then they got guys off the bench that contribute too. Caleb Martin, he's only scoring 9.6 points a game, But, he's scoring in double figures the last several games. That's helped them out the bench. Tyler Hero's been great. He was a killer against the Celtics a couple years ago. So, even without James Harden, this is a good win for Miami because Miami has very good they do really well against top teams. Against the Bucks, they were right in their game the other night. This is a team, if they're on, I do not want to face. Then I think Philly, on the other hand, too. I agree with Isaiah. You get rid of Ben Simmons. The drama's over there. But James Harden, I still wonder about his defense. That's the only thing about him. He's a spectacular offensive player, and then his playoff resume just never been good. And, he has to show that he can win the big game. With a team like this now, with one of the best players in basketball, and Joel Embiid, if he could do that, I think that Philly can go to the finals.
You're right, Ben. And that's what Isaiah said. I really like the Sixers team better without Ben Simmons. They actually found their big three in Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and James Harden, because I really think that with the roster that they have, I think Doc Rivers has done a phenomenal job coaching this Sixers team. But the only concern that I have with Doc Rivers is how is he going to coach in the playoffs? He's known to blow 3-1 leads, and I want him to flip that script in order for the Sixers to go to the NBA Finals. Doc Rivers has that pedigree, and he has what it takes to take a team to the promised land. Isaiah, what is your thoughts on the Philadelphia 76ers losing to the Miami Heat without James Harden?
I don't think you can fairly judge Philly right now without James Harden, because James Harden is a major piece of what they do, especially on offense with him, Embiid, and Maxey. He creates a lot of open shots for Maxey, for Embiid now, and also for Tobias Harris as well. So with him not being there, their offense gets bogged down just because of all the spacing and all the attention that is drifted onto him. And so I don't think you can really judge this Philly team tonight without Harden. I want to see, these two teams go up with Harden in the mix. I think it would be such a fun series to watch. But I think that for this game, Miami truly showed that. I mean, everybody's known that they're for real, but it just reaffirmed that fact that Miami is one of the true contenders in the East, just because, they've got the star power, they've got the depth, they've got the defense, they've got great coaching. They're just a really good basketball team. And right now, if I have to make a pick, I think it's Philadelphia and Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it would be such a fun Eastern Conference Finals, and I think that Eastern Conference Finals would probably go, to the limit, 7 games between those two teams. So I think that it was a great win for Miami, obviously, but I don't think you can judge Philly or say anything about Philly just based on this game, because they were missing James Harden.
They were missing James Harden. You're right about that. Big B, what is your takeaways on this game here between the Sixers and the Heat?
Miami's built pretty good. Like James said, they play their type of basketball. They're going to be unbeatable. Philly, on the other hand, Harden's only been there, a handful of games right now. So, yeah, the teams look better without the distraction of, they go trade Ben Simmons. The players probably got asked that quite a bit. The coaching staff probably got asked that quite a bit throughout the year. Finally, it's done. So, taking what Isaiah said, let's get Philly with Harden, Miami with and let's roll. Let's see what kind of series we're going to get. Doc Rivers, once he's in the playoffs, anything happens. I can't blame him for the losing 3 games or 3-1 lead and losing the games, because all he did was coach. The players didn't produce. So that's, to me, 50-50. It's the coaching plus the players. So I kind of lean it more toward the players. So Doc Rivers is a great coach. I think any team that he's got, and he's managed big threes before when he was in the Clippers organization for a little bit there with Griffin and all them guys. So let's see what they can do fully healthy and in the playoffs, like what Isaiah said.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think the Sixers are going to be very good in the playoffs with this roster. But, anyways, now we'll talk about Ben's former favorite player, Terry Rozier, who used to be a Boston Celtic, and LaMelo Ball combined for 55 points to lead the Charlotte Hornets past the Spurs 123 to 117. The Spurs, they're a rebuilding team, but I do like DeJounte Murray. I love Pop. And I mean, the Spurs never tank with Greg Popovich, but with the Hornets, this team is just fun to watch. And I'm on the LaMelo Ball hype with Isaiah because LaMelo Ball is a special talent. And I really am excited to see what he brings to the NBA. And I have to admit, he's even better than Lonzo Ball because I think LaMelo Ball is going to be an all-star. I think the Hornets are going to build their team around him. And I think free agents are going to want to come to Charlotte now to play with LaMelo Ball. Ben, you might agree with me on this. What is your thoughts on the Charlotte Hornets beating the San Antonio Spurs tonight?
I mean, I do agree, Lauro, that Charlotte's had a good season, but they're kind of like Cleveland. They're a young team. So, obviously they would get tested, I think, in the playoffs. I just don't think that they're above the elite type of other teams that I see out there, but they've been a fun story this season. LaMelo Ball, I do agree with you. I think he has a bright future ahead. He's an all-star. The one thing about Charlotte is they're a very resilient team. They played Boston very well this season. So they're a team that I think we're very matched up. Actually, though, at this point in time, I think we're a lot better, kind of compared to where we've been the last months or two. So I think that we would have the bigger edge as of right now. But, Terry Rozier, I love him as a Celtic, and I think that, he's not a big household name out there, but I think that for a young team like that, he can give you about 15, 16 points a night. He always plays hard, can shoot the three here and there, good defense. So the Spurs, too. Obviously, Greg Popovich is trying to chase history right now. I believe he has like one more win until he is up there in terms of tying some of the league all time and coaches for wins. So that's probably on his mind right now. But obviously the Hornets have been a fun story, Laura, but I just think that they're still a couple years away in terms of where they want to be.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. They're just more of a play-in type team for now, but I do think they're going to make the play-in tournament. But I think that in a couple of years from now, I think Charlotte will be competing with Milwaukee and Philly and Miami for the top 3 seeds. I'm excited about their future. They used to be the laughingstock in the NBA, but now this team has such a bright future, and I think James Borrego has done a really good job rebuilding this Charlotte Hornets team. And he didn't come in right away in his first year. It wasn't an easy process for him. I think that as the years go on, I think Charlotte is going to get better under his leadership. I think players want to play for James Borrego. He is a really, really good coach. I've always thought that he would be a great coach, fellas. Isaiah, what is your takeaways on the Charlotte Hornets beating the San Antonio Spurs?
LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets are the San Diego Padres of the NBA. And what I mean by that is the San Diego Padres, young team, they play with a lot of, passion. They just have fun on the baseball field, and they just don't really play with a lot of pressure. They are a team that when you watch them on the field, they just play like there's nothing for them to lose. They just have fun. That's what I thought of the Charlotte Hornets team. Young team, you got a young bright star in LaMelo Ball, who I've said for, many, many months that this kid is a star. This kid is going to be a future superstar. And I can't wait to see him play as he goes, on and on in his career. But you got a young star, you got a young head coach, you got a young group there in Charlotte. Don't forget about Miles Bridges, Kelly Oubre there in Charlotte. They don't really play with a lot of expectations. They, just have fun out there on the basketball court. So they just remind me of the Padres. They just love having fun, and they are a team that I don't really think that they're going to really go that far in the playoffs. I see them more of like their ceiling for this season is probably get to the first round and get bounced out. But in terms of like a one game, winner take all playing game, I could absolutely see Charlotte winning just because, when you look at the East, you look at the bottom teams right now, the Nets are in dysfunction. I know they're going to get Ben Simmons back, but, it's going to take some time to integrate everybody. Atlanta, they've kind of been a really big disappointment. So I could see Charlotte pulling some upsets in that play-in tournament and potentially getting into the first round just because of like all the other teams are just kind of very disappointing this year. It hasn't been what we expected to start the season, while you have Charlotte who just go out there on the court every single night and play like there's nothing to lose for them. So they really remind me of the 2020 San Diego Padres.
In a way, yes. And Big B, what is your takeaways on this Charlotte Hornets victory?
First off, where's that big what that you guys always say when Isaiah has a weird take like that? Because we need that. Comparing the, I mean, I get what you're kind of saying, Isaiah, with the youth movement and stuff like that, but I don't know. But anyway, so Charlotte is a team that I can see. I think Isaiah said it. They have nothing to lose. I mean, they're out there having fun, and that's what's scary about them. Because if they get hot and know they can beat some good teams, that's just building their confidence. And yes, if they can keep the core group together and bring in a piece here and there that fits what they want to do, the sky's the limit for this team down the road. So going into playoffs, I would take Charlotte as a sleeper right now if everything starts clicking and they can finally, they can put it together. Because, a young team that doesn't have nothing to lose is just out having fun. To me, that's scary. So, but yeah, the upset over Pop and Spurs, I mean, they beat a great coach. They beat a decent team. So we'll see what goes on after this.
Yeah, we're going to wait and see what happens here. But anyways, this is a question for you, Big B. You ready for this? Could the Minnesota Timberwolves take down the Golden State Warriors in a potential 7-game playoff series? Like, before you go on here, look at where your Minnesota Timberwolves are. They're 7th in the West. And this team is for real.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They're another team like Charlotte. They're fun to watch. They're young. They're inconsistent. Right now. Yeah, they beat who they beat tonight? They beat
the Blazers.
Thank you, the Blazers. Yeah, but the other day they lost to Oklahoma City, I think it was. So they're up and down. But yet again, like I said, they're a young team. They're fun to watch. Anything can happen. They're playing for nothing. I mean, right now. So can they beat a Warriors team in 7? I highly doubt it. I want them to. And whoever made that comment, I know who you are. I got, $20-$60 on it saying that, Warriors aren't going to do it or Warriors will do it and the Wolves won't knock them out. So as much as I want to see the Wolves play, because we haven't had a decent playoff run since KG, Spree, Cassell era, that one year that they went and lost to the Lakers, I think it was. So, yeah, I'd like to see the Wolves go all the way as much as possible, but they're in the same boat with Charlotte. They're a young, fun team. Give them a couple years, keep the core together, and we'll play down the road. But right now, Warriors would take the Wolves probably in 6.
And what about you, Ben? Do you think that you could see the Timberwolves take down the Warriors in a potential 7-game playoff series?
Well, whoever made that comment, no and no. Nothing to take away from the Timberwolves to your team, Big B. But I do agree with you. They're a young, fun team. I did not expect them to be where they are right now, actually.
I didn't either.
I really have not followed the Timberwolves that much this season, but I do like Cat a lot, so I kind of tune in terms of how he's doing. But they're 36-29. They're in 7th place. Who would have thought they would be over the Clippers and the Lakers as of right now? So, I mean, they're doing something right. And
they're what, 2 back of Denver?
Yeah. Yeah, they're 2 back at Denver. I mean, to be fair, Denver's kind of slipped without Jamal Murray. I think he's
I get it.
but still, it's really impressive. They got a very young team. I do really like that Charlotte comp. They have really nothing to lose. They're a young team, so I do
Yep.
think that they can give a team for a run for their money in the playing game, and see kind of where they go from there. They're a young future team, and you know, we'll see maybe if they can get a superstar here and there, and maybe Cat can recruit somebody. I know that he's been swirled into some trade rumors here and there last couple seasons, but I do think he's kind of like Damian Lillard in a way. He's very loyal to, I think, that team. Like Dame is for the Blazers, and I do think that obviously when you have Anthony Edwards and you have Cat together, that's a very fun, young type of duo that I think that could be going for years. And D'Angelo Russell also helped too, a young type of a veteran type of player who's been kind of around for different teams. So
Yep.
that's a team that's been playing pretty well. They actually did beat Golden State too.
Yep.
If I can recall, yeah, on March 1st, the day I was actually at the Celtics game. So yeah, they're a young team, but they're a lot of fun.
And what about you, Isaiah? What do you think? Do you think that the Timberwolves could take down the Warriors in a potential 7-game playoff series?
I need to call the cops on my guy Stephen Wang because he is stealing my thunder as the guy who provides like the bold takes here on the network, and I don't really like that very much. But in terms of the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't think that they're going to get past the Warriors, but I could see them stealing a game or two from the Warriors just because the Warriors, for some reason, without Draymond Green, they've just been really, really inconsistent. Jordan Poole has taken a step back. Wiggins has looked nowhere like the all-star in the second half of the season. Curry has had like a bit of a disappointing season in terms of Steph Curry standards. So the Warriors, I feel like they peaked at the wrong, like they peaked too early in the season, and now they're just kind of going through choppy waters right now. But if Draymond, if he comes back, we don't know how great of a shape Draymond will be when he comes back. Is he going to be back to the Draymond of old? We don't know. But when he comes back, Clay, he's still struggling coming back from his injury, so we don't know how he's going to be playoff time. We can't assume that he's going to be the Klay Thompson of old. There's just a lot of questions with the Warriors. And Minnesota, they're very young. They like to run up and down the court. And going up against a team like Golden State with their veterans, I could definitely see, Minnesota stealing a game or two. Also, just because Golden State, they always struggle against big men. And they don't really have a guy that can go up against Towns in the paint. So I could see Towns having a monster series against Golden State if they did match up in the first round. So I don't think they will take down Golden State, but I do think that that series would probably go like 6 games.
Maybe so here, but anyways, folks, now we'll move on to the NFL. But I'll start with you, Ben, on this. He could be a potential New England Patriot. Georgia star defensive tackle Jordan Davis, who weighs 341 pounds, ran a record 4.78 seconds in the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. I told you, Ben, that with the first round, who I want in the Patriots to get with their first-round pick, I want them getting a Georgia Bulldog, but I have them getting Trayvon Walker to play defensive end. But at the same time, say, for example, if like Devon Gottschalk is a release candidate, Patriots could also look at Jordan Davis. But I really want Trayvon Walker, though, Ben. What is your thoughts on overall this?
Well, I think Jordan Davis would be a fun star in New England, but I think that the Patriots, their defensive tackle is fine. I think that they have to go a different route in the first round. I personally think it's going to be cornerback because I think J.C. Jackson is going to leave. I think that he's going to get one. I said a report the other day that he wanted Jalen Ramsey money. And let's be real, Jalen Ramsey is a very good corner. He did get kind of toasted in the Super Bowl, but he's been overall for the majority of his career a decent corner. And I think J.C. Jackson, to be fair, as much as I love him, I don't think he's up there in terms of that range. So I think that Bill Belichick, as many people are saying, they're looking at receivers, which they have to get some receivers this offseason. Whether it's Chris Olave who obviously killed it in his 40-yard dash, or John Mechie, Jamison Williams. They need to get. I know that they've looked at a lot of those guys, but Jordan Davis would be a fun story lower. But I just think that defensive tackle is not a need for the first round. Would surprise me if Bill Belichick decides to do something that we obviously don't expect. Sure, trade down, do something, because that's what he does in the drafts. But I don't see it. I think that Jordan Davis, whoever goes to, gets that person though, is going to have a lot of fun. I mean, in terms of what he did, I mean, that's very just not normal for a guy that is that big. But I saw him with your Bulldogs, Isaiah. That guy is an absolute machine, and the guy can move. So he's been a fun story to watch this offseason.
And Ben, I told you about Trayvon Walker potentially being a Patriot, and the reason why I want him is because I want to get faster at the front, because that was kind of the problems that the Patriots had in the playoffs. And Judon is fine, but I want someone opposite of Dietrich Wise Jr., and that's why I want Trayvon Walker, because Winovich hasn't panned out the way we expected it. Henry Anderson's probably not going to be healthy. That's why I want Trayvon Walker to be a New England Patriot.
Well, I think that whoever they got to get somebody that can set the edge much better than they have. Chandler Jones would be fun, but he's a pass rusher that just goes up the field to get after a quarterback. They already have that with Judon. They need to get an opposite guy defensively who could essentially set the edge on the outside and know how to play both ways, right? So to kind of rush the quarterback, but also kind of stay in their lane. And that's obviously something that they just had a hard time with the last couple of games of their season. So,
but I'll tell you this, Ben. I think the Patriots are going to save those draft picks to draft John Mechie and Slade Bolden. I want these two to reunite with Mac Jones. If Big B is like, oh no, doing his eye roll.
I don't think that they'll get both, but I do think what I do think that they're going to do. So, I mean, I'm not a big report that they were looking at Robbie Anderson. Bill's had a high thing with Robbie Anderson. He just want to move the needle. I do think, going after a guy like Calvin Ridley, I think that would be a perfect situation for Mac Jones. He's been in Alabama. And I did see, you say to me, Laura, that they're looking at Chase Winovich and a trade for him. I think, you can get him for like at least a good second-round pick. I think that Calvin Ridley could be a very viable option. And then, if you don't look at the trade market, then obviously you look at a guy like maybe an Anderson or, obviously getting somebody like Mechie. So, but
I want Mechie for sure. I want Mechie for sure, Ben. But at the same time, I'm hearing that if you look at it, I'm hearing that the Patriots want to move on from Nelson Aguilar.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I was never a fan of the pickup. And he's good at 10-yard digs and going deep here and there, but the guy, he's a very bad drop radius. He can't catch, in timely matters. 50-50 balls. They need a guy that can stretch the field. My dad has been telling me a lot about Allen Robinson. They need a kind of a bigger body on the outside to kind of stretch the field and kind of have defenses kind of take away the outside, because a lot of times last year, essentially, a lot of defenses are kind of just playing stack in the box, because they're a run-first heavy team. And, they need to find a way to get Mac number one on the outside. And I think that'll definitely help, get Mac's progression up. Now, obviously, I'm really more worried about their coaching staff, because, they lose McDaniels. They lose a lot of guys from that coaching staff. That obviously is a huge factor in what they do moving forward.
And also, Big B, I'm going to go to you next on this. What was your thoughts on Georgia's star defensive tackle Jordan Davis, who weighs 341 pounds? He ran the 40-yard dash at 4 minutes and 78 seconds.
At 4 minutes, he ran the 100-yard dash? Or do you mean 4 seconds and
4
anyway,
seconds.
Not 4 minutes, Laurel. So anyways, first off, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't like the combine. I think it's overrated. I think it doesn't tell me anything about a player, because one, they're not running in the pads. They're not doing any drills in the pads. So Yeah, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong. You run a 4 something at 300, 400 pounds. Trust me, props to you. But what's he like with the pads on? We all seen the footage. We all seen, that's to me. If I was a player, I wouldn't go to the combine. I would skip it. You can have interviews on your pro day. You can, do whatever. But I honestly, I think the combines doesn't mean nothing to me at all. So I'll watch their footage of the games on YouTube or whatever, or clips on Facebook. That to me tells me what a player is going to be like in pads, not the combine.
All right. Anyways, with that being said, Fox and ESPN are reportedly engaged in talks on a potential trade that would send Joe Buck to ESPN. And I've also understood that if he does move to ESPN, he could also be a part of Major League Baseball's coverage on ESPN, along with his Monday Night Football duties. But do I see that? No. I see Joe Buck remaining at Fox because I think that anyways, we'll get to that story in a minute. Isaiah, what's your thoughts on the Jordan Davis story?
It's quite simple. Big fella can move around. It's very impressive what he did. I think he ran a 4.78 in the 40-yard dash. I mean, that's really impressive considering he's 340 something pounds. He's really heavy, and for him to be able to get around like that, like Ben mentioned earlier, that's not normal. So he's a super freakish athlete, and he's definitely going to be a stud in the future.
Definitely is a stud of the future. But anyways, we're going to go on to the Joe Buck thing. Do I think that what I said is that Fox and ESPN are reportedly in talks on a trade that could send Joe Buck to ESPN's Monday Night Football that could reunite him with Troy Aikman? Do I see that happening? No, because I see Joe Buck staying at Fox. I could see him being paired with either Sean Payton or Greg Olson. So, Isaiah, I'm going to go with you on this. I predict, and I'm going to stick to my prediction, that Monday Night Football will be with Al Michaels and Troy Aikman.
Well, I personally want Al Michaels to be on Monday Night Football, but, about this, trade talks that they're having, first of all, it's very interesting because I want to see what ESPN and Disney would potentially give up, given the fact that, the last time both networks did some type of trade like that sent a broadcaster somewhere. I think Al Michaels got sent to NBC for Oswald the Rabbit. So I want to see what Disney is going to give up in exchange for the rights to Joe Buck. But I think Buck is decent. I mean, he's my second choice besides or behind Al Michaels to be the guy that does the play-by-play for Monday Night Football. I think a booth with Al Michaels and Troy Aikman would just be freaking phenomenal. And if you're ESPN, you already had like bad booths in the past. I just don't think that you can afford to mess it up and let Al Michaels, a Hall of Fame broadcaster, you reject Al Michaels. Like that's like uncalled for. That's definitely unfathomable. That's like, LeBron James or Kevin Durant wants to play for you and you just turn them down. Like, what are you doing? So ESPN needs to take a chance, and they just need to sign Al Michaels because he's 70. Even though he's 77, he's still phenomenal. So I think that even though Aikman and Buck has good friendship and they have a good chemistry, I just think if you don't sign Al Michaels, it would be a massive mistake.
I think ESPN's got to go with Al Michaels. And Big B, what do you think? Do you think that we'll see a trade that could send Joe Buck to ESPN, or do you think Joe Buck stays at Fox?
Man, it's tough, because both networks want the best. I mean, they want to put out the best. Right now, Troy Aikman's a hot commodity. Tony Romo's hot. Sean Payton's a hot guy that everybody wants. To me, Joe Buck's a baseball guy. His dad was a baseball guy. I can't see him not doing baseball. So, I mean, he's going to have to work out to where he's going to do baseball. I mean, he's going to do the World Series. He's going to do playoff games. And if ESPN doesn't cover that, then he's got to stay at Fox. But also I've heard too that if he does get moved to ESPN, there might be a clause in the contract they let him still do baseball games like the World Series and stuff. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's kind of weird that we're talking about a potential trade in broadcasters, but it's the world we live in right now. But to me, Joe Buck is always going to be a baseball guy.
I think Joe Buck's going to stay at Fox. We want to welcome James Gonzalez to the night shift. So a couple questions for you. What was your thoughts on Jordan Davis, who weighed 341 pounds and ran the fastest combine for a big man? And also your thoughts on if Joe Buck will stay on Fox, or do you think he goes to ESPN?
Well, Jordan Davis gave me hope that, hey, yeah, I can run fast too, but in reality, I can't. It's pretty good. I just need to see it with pads on. Like Big B mentioned earlier, that doesn't mean anything, Loro. I know you got it on your TV back there. You could just turn that off, actually, because none of that stuff means anything unless there's pads on. So you got to get with the times with that, actually. What was the second thing? With Joe Buck. So, damn, is America ready for them again? I would think he would have a clause because he's been an announcer for so long that he can go do baseball back at Fox. But ESPN also has baseball as well. With Sunday Night Baseball, Monday, Wednesday, whatever it is. He can also do that too and be, the voice of ESPN baseball. The only thing is Matt Vasgersian is there. So, it'd be tricky, but maybe he'll get his way. Again, I'm reminded with a broadcaster trade of Al Michaels being traded for a cartoon character when he went to NBC. I think ESPN or ABC got the rights to. I forget the cartoon character name, but that's what it reminds me of. So, I think it's up to Joe Buck, pretty much what he wants to do. If he wants to team up with Troy Aikman again, or if he doesn't want to lose his big status at Fox, that's going to be the big decision he'll have to make.
I don't think he's going to want to lose his status at Fox, though.
Oswald the Rabbit. That's his name. Oswald the Rabbit.
All right. Anyways, folks, that being said here, let's go on to some college basketball. So, North Carolina spoils Mike Krzyzewski's final game at Cameron Indoor Stadium by upsetting number 4 Duke 94-81. Hubert Davis is the right coach for the North Carolina Tar Heels to succeed Roy Williams. This team is definitely going to be good for quite a long time, but I'm a Duke guy, and Coach K, I think he's going to – I want to see him win another national championship before he retires. Isaiah, what is your thoughts on this game overall?
My thoughts are that the Duke Blue Devil players should all be ashamed and flat out embarrassed about themselves because it's Coach K's final game. Like, credit to North Carolina, okay? They came ready to play. They were, like we were talking about with Charlotte, a team that walked into the building with nothing to lose because everybody thought that they were going to lose because it's Coach K's final game. You're obviously not going to let Coach K down and, have a great performance in his final game and win that game. But obviously, Carolina, it seemed like in the second half, they were the more hungrier team. They were the team that, you thought that it was a game with the way that they were playing. I mean, they just played with more hunger than Duke did, especially on defense. Duke's defense was getting killed left and right in the second half. I was watching this game at work, and I was like, what is Duke doing with all the switching that they did on defense in the second half and everybody getting lost in the shuffle? You couldn't make, you couldn't make baskets. I think they had like a dry spell for a couple minutes, and then Carolina just took advantage because Duke just didn't play defense, and that's what it came down to. And I think that, credit goes to Hubert Davis. What a phenomenal win for his program. I know his program has been scuffling. I know we talked about them last night when it came to the bubble teams. They're obviously, I think, going to be in the tournament now, but this was such a letdown because it was so hyped up by ESPN and everybody. Oh, Coach K final game and this and that. And for the Duke Blue Devils players to not be able to win this game for Coach K is just really sad.
It is very sad. And James, what is your thoughts on this game?
My thoughts on it: there was 4 great players there for North Carolina, but the main one who was all over the place was Armando Badcock. He scored 23 points. RJ Davis with 21, Caleb Love with 22, and then Brady Manick was putting up 3-pointers. He had 20 points, 11 rebounds. It was only those 4 guys in double figures, and then 2 others just scored for North Carolina. And even Duke had numbers from Panchero with 23, Williams with 16, Kills with 12, Roach with 15. But they started to miss shots in that second half, started to turn over the ball so much, and it led to fast breaks for North Carolina. And it was time for Bacot to go off. And I think that's what led to the North Carolina win today. And I'm so happy that it happened. And I saw, guys, we were talking about college basketball, I think, a couple of weeks ago with Juwan Howard and the whole thing with the handshake line. One of the assistants from Duke didn't shake Hubert Davis's hand, and I feel like that's appropriate when it comes to Coach K and how he coaches. There's just something, you put those two together, it's like, okay, I can see why I don't really like Duke, and it just showed in that handshake line there. But again, scoreboard, I'm happy. North Carolina won this game. It was a high-scoring game, 94-81.
Yeah, anyways, what Big B, what is your thoughts on this here?
I mean, it would have been nice to see Coach K go out with the win at home, but, you got, college is full of young guys. Most of them have probably played in pressure situations like that. But you're in a full house. You're in front of, 90-plus former Duke players that probably went on to a great NBA career. They probably hyped it up all week. They probably had pep rallies all week at Duke. North Carolina comes in, probably one of the greatest basketball rivalries that I can recall back growing up. What did North Carolina want to do? They probably wanted to come in and end the run. They wanted to put the big L up there. They did exactly that. Duke, on the other hand, yeah, they wanted to go out with the win, but to me, the pressure probably got to them. The hype probably got to them. You're thinking, and then once you start getting down, what are you doing? You're going to start rushing. You're going to start pushing the ball more. You're going to be taking quicker shots. So to me, I mean, Coach K would have been nice to go out with the win. Now for him to go out with the win, he's going to have to run the table in the NCAA tournament. I just don't see it happening. The Duke team is not the same Duke team that he's coached before in the 90s and early 2000s. So, hats off to him. Honestly, I ain't going to lie. If they end up going to the Final Four, I will be rooting for him because I do think Coach K is one of the best coaches around college. Probably up there on the Mount Rushmore of coaches overall in all sports. But, I mean, that's another debate to talk about, another show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anyways, now that being said here, now we'll talk about the Kansas Jayhawks hauled off a furious upset bid by Texas and bucks the Longhorns in overtime, 70-63. And I'll tell you what, I love Bill Self and that Kansas Jayhawks when it comes to basketball, and can't wait to see where they land in the NCAA tournament bracket on Sunday. And I'm hoping that Duke will play either Kansas or they play Kentucky. What is your thoughts on this?
Oh, you're going to me?
Yeah.
Oh, my thoughts on this is that I know that Kansas won this game. It was a phenomenal game, back and forth affair in Kansas. But, Chris Beard and the Texas Longhorns, first-year head coach out of Texas Tech, who left Texas Tech to go to Texas, He's got a great group in Texas. He's got a great program that he's building right now there in Austin, Texas. And do not be shocked if the Texas Longhorns do major damage in the NCAA tournament. Not this year, but I think 2 years from now, because they just got something great going there in Texas. But I mean, this is Kansas. Kansas is an established, experienced college basketball program. Hats off to them. They were just the best. They were the more experienced team, and they played like it when the going got tough down the stretch after Texas went on that big run.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But anyways, James, what is your thoughts on Kansas's win over the Texas Longhorns?
Yeah, Shane, I share the same sentiments with Isaiah about it. The only thing is Kansas got cold at the wrong time and let Texas back in. But that overtime session, Kansas just took off. They took that momentum from the crowd there, and they went with it. Have to shout out some Kansas players here. McCormick with 22, Wilson with 17, and Brown with 13. And some big baskets were made at the end there. Just too much experience, like Isaiah mentioned. And it always seems like Kansas, they're always a top 10 program, and then they're always experienced when it comes to home court advantage. They know how to take advantage of that, obviously. But for Texas, it seems like their upstart program, they could be dangerous, like Isaiah mentioned. And then especially with the years going on, with the recruits coming in, I'll have to check that out and see how their classes are going to go. I don't think anybody thought Texas would take Kansas to overtime, so at least that happened today.
And what about you, Big B?
Props to Kansas. I mean, come back. Like James said, they got cold at the wrong time, let them back in, went to overtime, took care of business with the home crowd behind them. One thing with college sports in general is it's hard to predict what's going to happen down the road. Right now they look good, Texas and Kansas, but that could all flip in 2-3 years when they get a whole new senior class, junior class in there, especially the way NCAA had that transfer portal call. I mean, this could be a whole different team next year. So, it's hard to predict what's going to happen down the road. Like James said, let's see what the draft class looks like and all that. But, right now, Kansas, in the driver's seat. I don't follow college basketball too much, but, to me, we're right around March Madness, and you always see Kansas, you always see Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, the big 4 or 5 that you always see in there. I know a couple years ago, I think Duke and Kansas, or Duke and North Carolina weren't in there, I think. So, but, we'll see what happens. We're getting close to March Madness. It's Selection Sunday, so.
All right. Anyways, we'll talk about USC and UCLA. I'm going to go with you, James, on this. The UCLA Bruins beat the USC Trojans 75-68. Mick Cronin getting his first career win against USC after 5 tries. But talk about this game in particular. I think UCLA, this team, this basketball team, they're back to being a really good basketball program.
Yeah, they've been good all year. Both schools, both are ranked. Both have been ranked all season long. But this was endurance. It was 41-35 at the half, a high-scoring game. Then that kind of tailored off in the second half. And then USC just couldn't buy a basket. Meanwhile, UCLA was just rolling. Isaiah Mobley did have 20 for USC. Peterson, I thought, would have put up more numbers. He only had 13 along with Boogie Ellis. But they just got cold. For UCLA, though, Jaime Jaquez Jr., he had 27. He heated up, especially in that second half. Jules Bernard ended up with 19. Jusang only with 8, and Tiger Campbell with 9. Those all key contributions to the score. But, I'm disappointed as a USC follower. I got spoiled those 5 last games. A couple of those matchups didn't have fans. At least 3 didn't have fans. So, getting those wins against USC was kind of odd. But you saw with a loud and sold-out Poly Pavilion that, it was going to be tough winning on the road. USC was definitely not favored in this game at any time. And, it's telling because Selection Sunday is coming up. Or I'm sorry, the Pac-12 tournament's going to come up, and then Selection Sunday. And this can only propel UCLA up and USC down to a lower seed. So that's what I'm worried about as the tournament comes on and then Selection Sunday.
What about you, Big B? What is your thoughts on UCLA's win over USC?
I'm not, going to say much. I'm going to piggyback. James had some great points. I know one of them is his team, so I didn't catch much of it. Just saw highlights. But I tell you right now, it's just James made a great point. You got cold at the right time, you get hot at the right time, and that's kind of what basketball is. You get a stretch where both teams could be cold, nothing happens, and then one team lights it up. So so I'm going to agree with James 100% on his take on this game.
All right. Anyways, folks, we're going to go on to another topic here before we talk some baseball here. Is women's basketball. WNBA player Brittany Griner is being detained in Russia after customs officials say they found hashish oil in her luggage at an airport near Moscow in February. Isaiah, what is your thoughts on this? And do you think that we'll see Brittany Griner back in the WNBA at some point?
This is a disastrous situation for not only the WNBA, not only for the sports world, but it's a disastrous situation for the entire United States. Because when you look at, Brittany Griner, obviously she's going to be stuck in Russia, which is a country you don't want to be stuck in, apprehended in, especially in those type of countries. This is a situation where, like I said something on Facebook where I could see the Russian leader using her as like a diplomacy pawn to get what he wants, and that's what they typically do. When these high profile Americans get trapped in these type of countries, their leaders would typically use them as like a pawn to try to get as much as they can from the United States. I've seen this so many times before. I feel really bad for Brittany Griner. I'm scared for her, honestly, because, in these type of countries with the rules that they have, you don't know what's going to happen to her. So, I'm obviously praying for her. Hopefully this situation can come to a quick resolution. You never want to see, anything like that. And, I always say this, when you're in another country, because like other countries are not like the US where they have the same rules as us, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid that would put your life at risk, because they could put you in jail and, who knows what would happen. They're probably not going to give you a fair sentence. They probably would, give you some ridiculous sentence or use you as like a diplomacy pawn, like they probably will do with Brittany Griner. So I'm fearing for her life. I'm fearing for her, fearing for her safety. This is not a situation you want to be in. And, I really hope that the U.S. government, gets something done quickly, because I think as the days go by, you start to get even more afraid for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about you, James? What is your thoughts on all this with Brittany Griner?
You know what this reminds me of, guys? Back in 2018 in China, what was his name? LiAngelo Ball, Cody Riley, who's on the Bruins right now, and then Jalen Hill. They were arrested on charges of shoplifting in Hangzhou, China. And remember, it took the president at the time to get him back here safely. I wonder if it's going to take that for Brittany Griner. And it's more complicated now with what's going on with Russia invading, Ukraine and all that madness going on. It's like the wrong place and the wrong time. I don't think she realized where she was and I think she was trying to fly back home. I'm not sure, to the U.S., but different countries, different rules. Obviously here when you carry a vape cartridge and anything that involves drugs and whatnot, it's more, you can get away with it here in the U.S. in some states at least, but not Russia. So I'm kind of worried about her with that. It also kind of reminds me of the Olympic sprinter in the 2020 Olympics, getting banned from the Olympics because she had something in her system, I believe, that dealt with marijuana, but she was dealing with, someone dying in her family. But, it just reminds me of that Leangelo situation and what he had to go through and what they had to go through to get back. So I already know that there's a Texas Congresswoman, Sheila Jackson-E, that's demanding the release, and she's bothering, the president, whoever she can in Congress, to get Griner back here safely. So we'll see how it develops the next couple of days.
Anything you want to add to this, Big B?
I just pray for her safety. James brought up a great comparison with. I actually forgot about the ball and those guys' situations. So I just pray for her safety. I think it's going to be a little bit more than hey, let's bring her back safety. We'll punish her here. Honestly, if she comes back in the next couple of days, great. But I honestly think it's going to be a while till she's back safely here.
All right. Anyways, folks, we got some baseball news to talk about here, and it is regarding the ongoing MLB lockout. According to John Heyman, MLB and the MLBPA are set to resume labor talks tomorrow after a one-day dispute, as it's mostly about the competitive balance tax now. That's what's holding up the agreement. Isaiah, if you could agree with me on this, I think that's what's holding up the agreement here. What is your takeaway on this whole thing? And what do you want to see in tomorrow's labor talks?
Honestly, I'm just kind of glad that they're getting back to the table, because I thought that once everybody left the table, we wouldn't see meetings for another month or two, and everybody would be going back and forth through social media. But it's great that they're getting back to the table quite soon. I'm just hoping for some fruitful discussion. I don't think there's gonna be a deal. If you think that there's gonna be a deal tomorrow, you're delusional. But
Yes.
I just think that you just want some fruitful conversations. You want fruitful conversations. Make some progress. That's it. Like, I don't want to hear any more back and forth gripes by both sides. Both sides jawing at each other on social media. I don't want to see that. We saw that in 2020 when they were trying to negotiate a way to restart the season, and then the commissioner had to use the nuclear option. But we don't want to see that. We just want to see some fruitful progress where these two sides sit down, talk through the issues, and just have some good discussions. That's it.
I think, Isaiah, I'm with you. I don't think there's going to be a deal tomorrow. I just want progress towards a deal tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I think, Big B, James, you, Laurel, we all can agree that, there's probably not going to be a deal tomorrow. Being realistic here, there's probably not going to be a deal tomorrow. It's just that you just want to see that conversation get started. You want to see the ball get rolling towards potentially a future deal down the line.
What about you, Big B? What is your overall thoughts on what John Heyman has reported today?
It's good. I'm glad they're took the week off. Now they're gonna get some talks going again. I mean, I think it's gonna get done. But possibly not tomorrow. But I have faith it's gonna get done. It's gonna get done. It's so. I still think we're gonna miss the first month of the season. So I don't see any regulation or any resolve. Now, probably I'll say right now the goal for me would be probably mid-month. Well, we're a couple weeks away, so yeah, I would say probably around the 15th through the 20th. I think I see a deal get done if they keep meeting, but I think it's going to get done. Deal's coming. It's coming.
I think it is coming, Big B. I think it is. But you're saying around March 15th, you think it's going to get done?
Yeah, if they keep meeting. I mean, if they're going to have a meeting now and then wait, 4 or 5 days to meet again, then that's going to be out the door. But if they meet tomorrow, they meet Monday, they meet Tuesday, then I could say between the 15th and the 20th, I could see a deal getting done.
Me too. Like what you said, I definitely agree. James, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'm just hoping for something to happen progressively tomorrow. Guys, I was talking with my other baseball channel and my other network I work with, and there was talks that not only do you have the first 2 weeks missed, the 2 series missing, but they probably miss the whole month of April of games. That's the realistic option right there. Just because you have to throw in spring training, and whenever a deal does get done, then you have to start from the beginning with the 4 weeks of spring training, whatever it may be. So to get the ball rolling, they have to not be offended by each other, basically. They have to go to the table and say, hey, we're not leaving until something gets done. I know the owners don't want to, open up their books and pay more than what they already are. We mentioned this the other day. Inflation is coming. Money's going to be made by the owners, and players just want some of that, especially with the big contracts. But again, this is an issue with the minimum players and what they're trying to make out of this and what's fair. And look, nothing else has to be said except, hopefully they could get something done within the next 3 or 4 days, honestly.
I got one more point. If they walk away without a deal tomorrow or anywhere close, they need to get on the phone and they need to call Bobby Bonilla's agent because he works great on getting deals done.
Or I could say this: the league's got to send teams memos if they're close to a deal about when it comes to opening up camps.
Well, yeah, the teams will get their memos, but if it goes any longer, then I say MLB and the Players Association needs to call Bobby Bonilla's agent and let him work out a deal.
I'm hoping that it's going to get done sooner rather than later, and I'm hoping that, like you said, Big B, you think around March 15th or the 14th. You said sometime next.
Yeah. If they keep meeting every day, then yeah, I can see a deal getting done by mid-month.
All right. Anyways, folks, we got some baseball trivia for you. We have not 1, not 2, not 3, but some 4 questions for you all today here. This question's for everybody here. And here's your first question of the night. And we did one yesterday, and now we're going to do one again today. We're going to doing these trivia questions pretty much every night shift and Friday Wild Sports Talk episode show until the MLB lockout comes to an end. And anyways, let's talk about this first question. Who owns the single season home run record? Isaiah, you go first.
Oh wow. Single season home run record
or a rookie.
I'm gonna go.
I'll give you an example. Cody Bellinger had one of these single season home run records, but his record was broken by this player in 2019. I won't tell you the answer right now.
Oh, I know that one.
Okay. I'm gonna say 29. 29. Was it? I'm gonna go on a limb and just say Giancarlo Stanton.
No, Isaiah. Big B, James, you want to steal this question right here?
I want to say it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Guerrero was a rookie in 2019, but that's not what we're looking for here. James, you have a guess here?
Repeat the question.
Who owns the single-season rookie home run record?
Rookie, oh my God.
And this was in 2019.
Was that?
This is in 2019.
No, it's who owns the rookie record for home runs in a single season.
Oh, I thought you said it was broken in 2019. Okay.
It was broken in 2019 by this player on the New York Mets, Cody
Peter
Bellinger.
Alonso.
You're right.
That's
Who
why I
did
was
you
going
say?
to do it before you said Nets anyway. Or Mets.
It's Pete Alonso currently
Oh,
has
Peter Alonso,
the
okay.
single season home
Oh,
run
okay.
record. The polar bear.
Yeah, he's trash.
Why do you think he's trash, though, guys? Pete Alonso is
Yeah,
He's a good player.
trash.
The guy stays healthy, he's going to have a phenomenal career.
Can't wait to see what he does in this year because he has Buck Showalter as his manager and all that. But we'll go from there. Anyways, our next question is: who hit the most home runs in the 2010s? James,
Wow.
you know this one pretty well here.
Oh, 2010s.
This is for everybody.
Nelson Cruz.
Ooh.
It is Nelson Cruz. You're right.
Nice.
He has 346 career home runs.
God, I wouldn't even have said that. That's my guy.
That doesn't count though because he used, so none of that counts.
I was gonna say like Josh Hamilton or someone.
No, especially with the Angels, he didn't do jack squat.
All right. Anyways, the next question is: who had the nickname the Sandman? Everybody know this one?
That's for Big B, right?
That's for everyone here. Big B, you go first on this one.
Sandman.
Well, he came out to the sun. Isn't it Rivera?
It is Mariano Rivera.
I never heard that.
James and Big B have a point so far.
I'm getting shut out again. Oh, what a
Oh,
surprise!
that's something new.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're
But
going to tell you the Detroit Lions of trivia.
anyways, this one's for you, Isaiah. As of 2021, which active manager has the most all-time wins?
Ooh.
You mean right now, right?
Yeah, as of tonight. As of today.
I think I know this actually. The active one, I think it's Bob Melvin, right?
No, the correct answer was Tony La Russa.
That's
Are we
right.
you're not going to give us a chance to guess? Okay.
All
I
right,
would
we'll
have
go
said
to,
LaRussa. I would have said somebody else, but
anyways, we'll go to James on this one.
Are you sure?
What were the hats made in the first ever baseball uniforms?
What were the hats? Wait. Repeat that.
What were the hats made in the first ever baseball uniforms?
What were the hats made of?
What were the hats made from in this first ever baseball uniforms?
Damn, I got the easy questions. They just get
The
something
hell
from
is
the
that?
1900s.
so yes,
Uh,
like, what were they made of back in when they first?
You can't wear metal. That'd be weird. I must say plastic.
No,
Can we
James.
guess, Monroe?
Yeah, you guys can guess. Try to steal right here.
Pig livers. Oh no.
Not really. What about you guys? You have an answer?
I'm gonna say rope.
The correct answer is straw.
Oh, that makes sense. That's all they had back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
This is for you, Big B here.
All right.
Pitcher Jim Abbott threw a no-hitter in 1993 despite what physical disability?
Oh, give
My
them
great-
easy.
One of my greatest pitches to watch pitch. He only had one hand.
Yeah, he did have one hand, but that is not what we're looking for. The correct answer is he was born without a right hand.
The same
Same
thing.
thing.
Give him the point.
Yeah, one hand.
All right. Anyways, we have time for a couple more here. When a pitcher, this one's for you, Isaiah. When a pitcher makes an illegal motion on the mound that the umpire deems to be deceitful to the runner, what term is used?
Well, this is easy. It's a balk.
You got that right. It is a balk.
Yeah, I'm on the scoreboard.
And you got a
I
point
get
there.
those questions, and I get what was made in 1876.
Well, you got this next question right here.
It better
Who
be
led,
easy.
who led the home runs during the shortened 2020 season?
It wasn't an angel. I know that.
If James doesn't get this, I think I know. I can steal.
Yeah, you can steal Isaiah. Big B.
Damn it.
Isaiah, you guys can steal.
Oh God. DJ LeMahieu.
No. Isaiah, Big B, you have any guesses before I reveal the correct answer?
I'm gonna go with Matt Olson because I think he had like 12. I think.
Well, I mean, what about you, Big B? What is your best guess here?
Oh God, I could guess the guy's first name. Last name starts with the B. Luke Volt or something like that.
It's Luke Voigt. You got that right.
From New York. Oh,
From the Yankees. But
That's right.
But the dude can't stay healthy. I'm going to go to you, Big B, on this one. And this has to do with my LA Dodgers. Prior to the 2020 World Series, how long was the Los Angeles Dodgers championship drought?
Ooh.
I know.
Long. Oh God, long time. I don't even think I've seen the Dodgers win the World Series since I was born. God, I'll go.
Well, I'll give you a hint. The last time prior to that World Series, the last time the Dodgers won a World Series was when Isaiah's A's had Dennis Eckersley and when Kirk Gibson hit that memorable home run that went like this.
Yeah, 88. So that's I can't do my math right now. 2020. So you're looking at what? 22 years? No, 32 years, ain't you?
32 is the correct answer.
32.
That's what I had.
Yeah.
And Isaiah, we'll go to you, and then we'll probably call it for the night here. For how many games must be victorious in order to have a winning season?
Oh, wow.
I know
James is just furious right at all the easy questions I'm getting.
And you get them all wrong.
Wow. How many? Isn't it like 81?
Close. The correct answer is
82.
82.
Oh my God, that's right.
Do I get a final question?
We're going to save that for the next show on Friday. So, folks, it has been a great show, and we have some final thoughts and announcements for you regarding our next extra point show coming up. Oops. Well, let me tell you guys this. Isaiah and I have an announcement to make. Next Sunday will be the extra point at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. And be there. Be sure to be there or be square with our free agent predictions and which free agent's going to go. And also, Isaiah, we're going to also be talking about some trades that could be happening at the new league here for the NFL. Give us that announcement coming up here for the extra point viewers.
You just did.
Well, yeah, I mean, the extra point next week, Sunday, March 13th, we're going to be doing a free agency preview special. We're going to be picking all of our free agent picks, where they will land, and some trades that we'll be predicting as well. So stay tuned for that. You know, it's going to be a wild and wacky show for sure. But, you know, my final thoughts is it was a great show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to Big B for hopping on, Low Roll for hosting, and also James for being on, and also Ben as well. Even though he had to roast me like a rotisserie chicken about the Boston Celtics early in the show. But I mean, it was all in good fun. But, you know, great show. And I still can't believe I fumbled that easy question, that easy layup that Low Roll was threw me as an alley-oop, and I just missed it. when I said 81 wins instead of 82 for the winning record for 162 game season. I mean, oh my gosh, man! I don't think Big B or anybody else will let me live that down for a while.
Yeah.
And what about you, Big B? What is your final thoughts?
No, thanks for having me on. And yeah, Isaiah, you called it the alley oop, but you got stuffed by the rim. You got there, you just dunked it and hit the rim, and flat on your back, you win on that one. So, but no, it's a great time getting on, chit chat with you guys. And honestly, I can't wait to hear you guys' predictions and trade talks and see what kind of wild takes you guys give out next week. So, have a good one.
What about you, James? What are your final thoughts before we call it for the night?
Straw hats. No. The hell was that? Isaiah, did you have your rant about Coach K?
No, we're gonna save that for Monday because I know Callan wants to talk to me about it, so we'll save that for Monday.
Okay, because my final thought was going to be
No,
pyramid of success, basically. And that's all you need, really, with who I think was the best one. But yeah, thanks for having me on. Again, I was on another network, and we had some things to hash out and let go, basically, and get going with the MLB season. We hope that gets going so we can get the ball rolling on all these networks and talk about now not lockout stuff, but season predictions and whatnot. I think definitely Lowro, you would like that. Everybody would like that, and where we think our teams are be, where the
it's
whole.
going to get done. I'm telling you, it's going to get done.
We'll see. So yeah, thanks for having me on, y'all.
All right, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you again Monday for Wild Sports Talk. And Callan McClurg will be back to hosting the show, and I'll be hosting Wild Sports Talk on Friday. Have a great night, everyone.